Wouldn't it be cool if there was a tool that had like a library of parts and you could just select the part that you're actually using and just make a wiring diagram for those exact parts, and it would like check your work and make sure that you like haven't put a wire somewhere where it's not supposed to go. I have previously said that this tool would be essentially impossible not to build, but to keep up to date with the sheer number of parts that are coming out month after month, week after week, year after year. But today, our good friend Stu, UAV Futures, claims that he has done it. We're going to take a look at the new builder tool on his website, DIYFPV. I'm Joshua Bardwell, and you're going to learn something today. This is DIYFPV. That is a website created by Stu and a few other people working with him. And there's a lot here we're not going to dive into today. There's a marketplace, a buy-sell. There's a catalog of parts, and you can just look at these parts and try to find stores that have them in stock. Here we go. There's a lot there to play with. It's free. You just log on, sign up, and I highly recommend you go check it out. There's a link in the video description below. It's DIYFPV.com. It's not that hard. But what we're looking at today is the new parts builder. Basically, as I said at the beginning, it lets you create a wiring diagram for parts of your choice. Now, here's the challenge. So many new parts come out in the world of FPV. And so like you have to create metadata for these parts. If there's a flight controller, then the website has to know this is a UART, this is a power pad, and it has to have rules about how those things interact. Like a crossfire receiver gets wired up, 5-volt ground, TX, RX, right? And if you know all those rules, it is fairly doable to build those rules into like an engine like this. But what is very difficult is every time a new video transmitter, a new flight controller comes out, telling the system about that device so it knows like how to wire it up. And that is too much work for any one person to do. And I've always thought that that was a stumbling block. But Stu is just asking the community to do it for him. What? No, asking the community to do it for themselves. Now, we are not able to start a new build project and show how the wiring things up works. So I'm just going to show you that in Stu's release video where he shows a demonstration of it. But what we need to do is we need to add new parts. It's locked until 200, because if you don't have a certain critical mass of parts, then you can't freaking build anything anyway. And he doesn't want to release it only to have people be like, well, this is not usable. So what we're going to do in this video is we're going to add a new part. And I haven't watched a tutorial about how to do this. In keeping with my normal MO, I'm just going to wing it, and you come along with me, and I'll get some things right, and I'll get some things wrong, and we'll have a good time in the meantime. And of course, I'm going to do my good old flight controller, the JB-F7. That's the flight controller I released in partnership with Race Day Quad so many years ago. It's still out there. In fact, I have one sitting here on my desk, and let's dive into it.
I just got a notification that Bardwell has submitted a part to the DIYFPV part builder, so I thought it might be fun to, hey, show him what it's like behind the scenes in the review process. And we can see his part right here. He is doing his F7V to JB-F7, so let's have a look. This is the part.
It looks like they are allowing you only to use catalog images that they've pulled from the product page. So I think that in the future they will add the ability to upload your own photos, but for now they're just taking the catalog photos. All right, here's the front, and the back side is going to be, this one is the back side, and continue. And then, how does this part have mounting holes? This side, yeah, it has mounting holes. Okay, go like that around the outside. Yeah, I think we need the orange box to completely surround the object like that. And then the actual width and height is 36.25 by 36.25. Okay. Okay, trace the outline. I wish it wouldn't snap like that. That's pretty annoying. Oh my God, stop it. Oh, fuck. That's so annoying. Surely you can turn snapping off. You can't. Wow, feature request. Snap to grid. And boom, there we go. Done. Let's drag that just a little, and then these we will radius. It looks good on both sides. We got a little bit of a USB port getting cut off here, and we don't have the actual mounting holes like they show here, but that seems like a pain in the ass, and I'm not going to do it. Close the loop. There we go. Nice. Okay. Oh, we're doing the underside. I see. Same deal. All right, so now we're going to set up the plugs and pads. Are these square pads or rectangular pads? Interesting question. Okay, that didn't work. Drag. Can I drag it on? Oh, I see. Can I resize? I can resize. Okay. I wish I could. Why can't I? Why can't I? I can't. How do I drag side to side? How do I drag side to side? It doesn't let me. Front. There we go. That's better. Okay, label and function. SDA. Is that right? Function unknown. No, but I labeled it. Now, can I copy paste this? Copy. Paste. Yes. All right, so we're going to run through these pads and finish the pad layout on the board, but you can see the way that this goes. For each device, I'm going to put a physical marker where the pad goes, and I'm going to tell the system what the function of that is. They've got a library of existing things. So for example, I'm doing UARTs here, but let's see, like this 5-volt pad here, paste, where'd it go? If I come over here and I drag this for the 5-volt pad, and then I just type 5-volt here, 5-volt rail output, done, right? No problem. We're going to need to do this layout for the entire flight controller. I'll let you know if there are any quirks, but it's probably just going to proceed exactly as it is. So a couple notes as I'm coming here to the end of the top of the board. First of all, I'm really impressed with the different functions that they've defined. For example, on the JBF7, this 9-volt pad is not just a 9-volt output, but it's switchable VTX power. It can be switched on and off. This is a common function that many flight controllers have. And you could have just set it up as a 9-volt pad, but that would have failed to capture the fact that it was switchable and specifically intended for the VTX, but they have a function for VTX 9-volt rail output, which says switched VTX power rail. Fantastic. They have a separate, they've thought of that. Likewise for the buzzer minus and buzzer plus, like they've captured the fact that buzzer plus is just a 5-volt output and buzzer minus is the switched output. These are all great little details that they have captured and will make the wiring diagrams more precise, more accurate, and more usable. There is a feature request, and since I'm a content creator, I'm just going to stick it in the video instead of reaching out and giving it to the developers personally. In PowerPoint, there's a thing where if I am doing a row of objects and I copy paste and then I drag the object like this, when I hit Control V again, the next one just appears in a line, right? And it would make doing a row like this so much easier if I could just hit Control V and then just go Control V, 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 V. And that would be super cool if you guys would implement that. See, then I would put this one here. And then since the spacing is now diagonal, the next one would appear up here, which is not correct. But then as soon as I go like that, right, I Control V and then Control V, or C, then V, and then bonk, 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 I could just run the whole row. Anyway, you get what I'm getting at. It would make it super easy to do a row like this, but it's not that bad.
These pads look slightly misaligned, and see how this T5 is up a lot higher than this one. What I would recommend, we have actually a tool here where you can just highlight them all and click evenly space when you are putting the pads down. And so that pad spacing and alignment, that's a pretty easy one.
Okay, so for the plugs, and by the way, I'm a little bit annoyed that they say ribbon cable here. I don't think that like an SH connector is technically a ribbon cable. A ribbon cable is like the flat where they're conjoined. Anyway, I think a ribbon cable is a bad name for this, but whatever. Wire harness. We drop the connector on, And I am referring here to the wiring diagram for the JBF7 to remind myself what they are. You tell it the number of pins, so this is a 4-pin connector. You can't resize the connector as far as I can tell, but that's okay, whatever. Can I just arbitrarily change the width? 30, 40. Oh no, that's the pin width. Undo that. Anyway, I don't know that you can change the connector dimensions. You can change the connector type. These are SH plugs, and that is correct. And what is the width? What's the correct width? 3.0. I'll put it back how it was. 3. There we go. Now it'll look consistent. Then what you do is you just go down, and for each of the pins, you put in the correct function for those pins. 5-volt rail, ground, R4, and T4. And as you do it, it lights up the pin that you're working with, and I'm just carefully cross-checking it against the diagram. The other thing is, by default, the labels appear at the base of the pins, which I think is less readable, so you can change it to on body, and then the labels appear here in the white of the connector. And I'm just going to do that for each of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, correct. And I'm just going to drop them in and label them, as you see. There's something I'm not sure about. The labels are upside down. I rotated this plug to face the way that it actually faces, but now the labels are upside down. So is the correct way to do it to put it like this, even though the plug now faces the wrong way? Or is the correct way to do it like this? I'm not actually sure. And are these supposed to be landing points for the wires? I don't think so. I think they're the pins coming off the back. I'm not sure about that. We'll have to see. But either way, I think the labels should rotate to be upright based on the orientation of the picture. Okay, we got these labeled. I did discover that if you don't use the on-body labeling, but use the labels at the end of the pins, then they run vertically like this, and there's no upside-down problem, whichever way they're facing. I also did confirm in Stu's video that these are the back side of the connector, and so like I don't have them turned around backwards and accidentally wired backwards. This is correct. You will, if you're going to do this, want to be really sure you get it right. Otherwise, a whole bunch of people who follow your diagram are potentially going to, like, at best have their stuff not work, or at worst fry their gear. So I hope I've done this right.
I imagine one of these pins here is going to be the input, but all of these have been labeled as an output. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a little comment here. Here it is, the voltage flow, the input and output. This is a really important step actually, because it's going to help with our logic of like when this goes up to the builder, you want to know, hey, this says 5 volt. Is this for feeding into it? Is this how I power it? Or is this is this providing power? Now I'm going to add another little detail. I quite like this one as well. So putting things like some silk screens that we can put on here. So a little bit of silk screen label text, you know, so we can put RDQ on there. I'd probably put the main chip. And then looking at the tracings and everything, I'd say it's a pretty nicely drawn part.
Now we'll hit next, and oh God, they want me to add all the components. No. Why would I do that? Why would I add chips and capacitors and resistors? The hell you say? No, I'm not going to do any of that.
Straight away, this is where I would put a little comment, something that goes like this. Can we please add more pad details, chips, resistors, capacitors, and those sorts of things? I'm going to set it to blocking, which means, hey, Bardwell, I'm going to need you to have a look at this before we can publish it. And I know that he's a smart man, and he'll be saying, but hey, that doesn't help me actually wire up anything. What's the functionality in doing that? And the reason that we want to have some of these chips and capacitors and some of those more things on there, it's twofold. Number one, humans like pretty things. They like them to look good. We are the same sort of people who fly around with FPV goggles on our face, and then we cover our drone in LEDs or like big TPU pink attachments that we can put on here just because it looks good. Like that's what we like in FPV. Things that look amazing, even though sometimes they're not perfectly functional. But the other part as well, and this comes from my, I guess, like decade plus of teaching in the classroom, we want this to be as easily recognizable for people who are using this tool. So on the first glance, when you look at this, If it shows you where the main chip is and a couple of resistors, it's going to let our brain, even if it is on a subconscious level, to quickly recognize some of those patterns and shapes and be like, oh, this is the orientation of my flight controller. The easier we can make something for people to understand it, I think the better the tool is going to be. I want this to almost be like a close enough one-to-one representation where people can fully get their head around this and understand, maybe learn something from it today. That's the idea of this FPV part library anyway.
So then, once the parts are created, you can go in and you can make your wiring diagrams by selecting parts and dragging wires between them. The system, as far as I know, doesn't auto do the wiring, but it does tell you if you screwed up the wiring. It's like, oh, you can't put that wire there. And as much as I would like it if it did auto create the wiring, and probably it will at some point, I kind of like that it makes you think and understand, and you're like, it's not like just do it for me, because then when shit doesn't work, then you're kind of stuck and you don't know how to fix it. No, you're going to do it, and you're going to think, and you're going to be like, okay, this wire goes here, and it's going to go, no, it doesn't. And you'll be like, oh shit, and you'll try and figure it out. You can learn from the process, and I think that's really better than just click a button and do it for me. I always say, until the tool is perfect, and you always have access to the tool, then you need to learn to do it yourself. Once the tool is perfect and you always have access to it, then fine, take the shortcut. You know, my teachers always said, you aren't going to have a calculator in your pocket at all times, so you have to learn to do math. And I'm like, honey, I got a calculator in my pocket at all times, and I'm much worse at math than I was in elementary school, but it doesn't matter. I just type it down and get it done. Except here's the thing. You can't use it yet until 250 parts are built. And I've just done my part. I've made one. That's one. Okay, so now we're up to 29, assuming that gets approved. Now, we need you. Now, if you're a raw beginner and you don't know how to do wiring diagrams, maybe don't do this. But if you feel like you could do what you just saw me do, go in there, missing a part, craft your own. Pick a part and start adding them. And once it gets to 250, we can actually start using this tool. Thank you so much to Stu and the guys at DIYFPV. These guys have been working their ass off at this website. I have a vague idea of how much work this website has taken, and it's incredible. And they're not charging us. There's no subscription. They're not even doing affiliate. Like, how do you have a website that recommends products and helps people shop for products and you're not doing affiliates? Okay, maybe I'm just a greedy SOB, but seems like that's a no-brainer, but they're not. They're not, as far as I can tell, they're not making any money on this site. In fact, he offered to pay me for this video, and I was like, no, you're not, I'm not. So I'm making this video because I believe in this, and I am super grateful to the work they're doing over there, and I'm glad to be a small part of it and help promote it. I hope you guys will also help support it. There's a link in the video description below, or it's just DIYFPV.com. That's it for today. See you in the next one.